Hi everyone, it's Jessica. Happy December. Today's project is all about the YouTube Sketch Hop collaboration that I do with a couple of friends here on YouTube. And this month, Sarah Millerhouse chose this sketch for us all to follow. And I thought that this was going to be a lot of fun for the theme that she also gave us, which was Feels Like December. Now, I immediately pulled out these photos here of a couple of Decembers ago. I'm going to add some of them in some flip-flaps to fit them all in. But I had actually gotten out of school for winter break a day before my children did. And so I was able to volunteer at their classroom parties on their last day of school. So that was a lot of fun, and definitely that feels like December for me once all those school activities start happening and we are on the verge of Christmas break. So I do spend a little bit of time just kind of figuring out my photo placement. I really just use that sketch as a basic guide, and so I was just kind of playing with things here. I also went digging through my die cut stash to see if there was anything in there that I might cut out and use. Honestly, you'll see when I go through my papers here in a minute that I love them all, and I was so nervous to cut into them and have that be a mistake and not what I wanted. So I was trying to lay out the dies first to kind of be in the place of the papers. That way I could get a better feel for it and make sure before I cut into any of those precious papers from my scraps or for my stash. So here are some of my circle die cuts, and I'm just trying to figure out what sizes I'm going to use together. Like I said, I love the sketch and how it layers all of those different shapes together behind the photos. I think that that is going to be a lot of fun. These are my star die cuts from Hip Kit Club. I think the big star is probably too big, but I do end up using that small star. And then this middle-sized star here, it has a couple of piercing holes when you cut it out, and that way you can add some stitching to it. So you know me, I'll be stitching on my star later, but I'm pretty happy with this. So I have a better idea now of which dies I want to actually cut, and now it's just what papers will I use. So I found these 6x6 papers here. These are from my Close to My Heart stash, and I love them. I had a couple of different packs of this 6x6 stack and really have been hoarding them, and I was nervous to cut into them. And I'm kind of second guessing my color choices because the photos have a lot of bright blue in them, which is not very Christmassy, and there was a little bit of green, so I was trying to bring in some of the green for my pattern paper. I did also really like this larger 12x12 pattern paper from my November Hip Kit Club kit, and because it had that red in it, and there's some red in the photos, but in the end, I love that paper too. I was like, I can't cut it down because I just don't know if it's going to work. I decided to go with those 3 6x6 papers that I had from my stash. So now I just have to figure out which ones get cut into which shape. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera, and you can see this is what I ended up coming up with here. Now on my stars, I did die cut a few extras out of some Bluebird colored cardstock, and I will glue those together in just a little bit. So here, this is the size scrap that I had after cutting the other ones. So I was just trying to see, okay, based on the scrap, how much smaller do I need to cut it down? I was really trying to make the most of that out of that entire 6x6 sheet of paper because I love it. So, and then when I was cutting my circles, I just did different sizes and all of the colors, and then I varied them for each of the 3 points on the layout. So I'll go ahead and trim this guy down just a little bit more, and then I think that that will be perfect for behind that one 3x3 photo. Now you can see my flip-flaps sitting there. Like I said, I do actually have more pictures that I want to include on this layout. So some of them are going to go on top of those 3x3 photo wells, and then the other one that I have is actually a 3x4 photo that doesn't fit anywhere on this layout. I couldn't cut it down to 3x3 without losing half of the class because it's a photo of my son's kindergarten class after their little holiday activity that we did. And I also, it's the different orientation from that 4x6 of me and my daughter. So I wasn't really sure, how to include it. So later, if you stay tuned, you're going to see how I end up making a little hidden pocket behind that 4x6 photo, and how I'm going to end up including that 3x4. So right now what I'm doing is just gluing a couple of these pattern pieces together. I thought maybe it would be easier to move everything around as like one whole unit piece as I was kind of playing with it. So I'm just going to glue the circles and the rectangles and squares together so that I can move them around my page. That green pattern paper does actually have a stripe on it, and so I wanted to make sure that it was going straight across my page. So I did pull out my T-square ruler a few times as I was gluing some stuff down, just to make sure that those green circles ended up being straight. Here I'm kind of playing around with the placement of that top photo. I went away from the sketch a little bit here because I decided that instead of having the title in the top left of my layout, I'm going to move it over to the top right, and then I'm going to put some journaling strips down in that bottom left-hand corner. So once I do that, I am definitely a little bit happier with the placement of things. And here's where I'm going to pull out a piece of white cardstock and cut a couple of photo strip or journaling strips. I love to do this because it's an easy way to make your journaling stand out. And also, if you mess it up, it's just a tiny little strip of paper. And so it's easy to cut another one and rewrite your journaling and not mess anything up directly on your layout. I definitely have a few layouts in some of my scrapbooks where I'm like, shoot, I just misspelled a word, or I don't know, left a word out or something silly like that. And it's written directly on the page, and it just irritates me to no end. So I do love including my journaling kind of like this, because that way there's an easy fix just in case. So I'm going to layer those three down there in that corner. I like the way that that looks. And then later I'll have to figure out what the title is for that top right corner. It's kind of funny because the title was one of the last things that I did, and usually I have that figured out a little bit sooner. Here's where I pull out my foam mat and my piercing tool, and I'm just kind of making the holes that die cut put in the star a little bit bigger to make my stitching easier to do. And I went ahead and stitched that star off camera. Okay, so the other things are glued down to the page, and I also splattered a little bit of white gloss spray. And here is where I'm showing you what I did to create that hidden pocket for my other photo. Now, when the photo is pulled out of that pocket, it is going to be going in the wrong direction, but that's okay. I didn't want to do it this way because then I'd have to cut a kid off. And so I needed to tuck it in the other way, but that's fine. It's still included in the layout, even though once you pull it out, you got to twist it around to look at it in the correct orientation. And I used a couple of stamps and die cuts from my Close to My Heart stash just to add that little pull tab off to the side for my photo mat. And then I'm going to pop up this 4x6 photo on some foam tape just to create that space behind it for that photo to sit. Now, once I end up putting this page into a page protector in my album, I am going to need to cut a slit in that page protector so that this little hidden photo can get pulled out of the page. So I don't show that here in the video because I'm actually chronologically in my scrapbooks not to the point yet where these photos are from. So I don't know, if this is going to be a left-hand page or a right-hand page. And I don't want to cut a page protector until I am ready to actually include this in an album. So for right now, I'm just going to kind of let it be as I tuck it back here and get this all set up. And then I'll just keep it together, that hidden photo, I'll keep it together with this layout until that time comes. I did have a thought that, when I do include this in my album, in the future, that I don't want that hidden photo to come flying out of the page protector when somebody goes to turn the page. So I think what I might do in the future is take one of those little hook and loop dots that you can get from a craft store and just kind of stick one to the back of that little pull tab section there that you can see sticking out from that blue cardstock, and then put the other end of that hook and loop dot directly to my page protector. So that way, when it's kind of like poking out through that slit, that there is still something holding it there in place, so it's not gonna fling out and get lost in time, but that it's still able to kind of come unattached and come out if somebody wants to look at that photo. So I hope that all makes sense, even though I don't show it here on camera. In my head, I know what I'm going to do, but like I said, that is a problem for future me because I just am not that quite caught up in my scrapbooking yet. So I used a whole bunch of foam strips, shaker foam strips, to pop up that photo. And then I realized that my star is also going to need to get popped up just a little bit because I am layering it over the bottom corner of that 4x6 photo. So I'm going to do a little combination here of adhesive and foam tape to put that star over the photo. And there's still plenty of room for that little hidden 3x4 to come sliding out. So I was very happy it was able to fit that one in there. I just couldn't bear to not include the picture of his class with all the other photos from this day. Okay, for the title for my layout, I was kind of thinking it would be fun to do "Oh, what fun," because this is a Christmas layout, right? Like, oh, what fun it is to be at school at your Christmas party. And so I used my Cricut to cut out the word fun 3 times on some white cardstock so that way I can glue them together and stack them up for just a little bit of dimension. But when I put them down, I felt like the white letters were just a little too stark, and I wanted it to be more fun, more whimsical. So I'm grabbing my green ink here. This is some green apple from Close to My Heart and a blending brush. And I am just going to blend a little bit of color from the bottom of the letter up. And I thought too, you know what, I've got three of each letter. If I do this and put it on my page to kind of test it out and I don't like it, then nothing's really lost because I can just glue it to the back and go back to my white colored letters and, you know, nothing's hurt. So, but when I did it and tested it out, I did like that green a little bit better than just the plain white. So I went ahead and glued those ones to the top of the stack, and I'll go ahead and get all those put together and then glued down to the page. And then off camera, I will stamp with one of my alphabet stamps, "Oh, what," and then that way it makes "Oh, what fun." I was a little disappointed though. I drew myself a pencil line for my stamping, and when I went to erase it, it still kind of showed on that gray colored cardstock. So I was like, oh, darn it. I guess I probably shouldn't do that again. If it's colored cardstock, I don't need to put a pencil line. So, but oh well, it is what it is. And then the final thing that I'm doing here is just adding a few of those same Bluebird colored dots, enamel dots around the page. Just a few more, I think, do I do stars or circles? I can't remember. But I just scatter them around the 3 points that I have. And then here's where that photo is going to peek out. And I think after kind of looking it over, that's going to be it. I'm going to be done. So this month, like I said, the theme was Feels Like December, and all the ladies in this YouTube collaboration use that same sketch for their projects, and it is a lot of fun just to kind of see how everybody comes at it a little bit differently. So I will leave a link to the playlist in the description box down below, so make sure that you check that out so you can see what all of the other ladies who are so talented and fun to watch, what they did with this sketch that Sarah Millerhouse gave us for the month of December. And we will be back in January. We post this video for our collaboration on the second Friday of every month. So I will see you soon, I hope, with another video, and then again next month for this collaboration. All right, guys, have a wonderful holiday season, and I'll see you later. Happy crafting. Bye.